Judges at the UK's highest court have ruled against the Scottish Government's controversial named person scheme. The system would appoint a named person, usually a teacher or health visitor, for every child in Scotland. Judges say some proposals breach rights to privacy and a family life. Let's go to our Scotland correspondent, Stephen Godden, who's in Edinburgh. Tell us, first of all, Stephen, what the thinking was behind this policy.
Well, I think it's been a controversial policy ever since it was introduced a couple of years ago, voted through unanimously as part of a wider act. But since then, the controversy around it has snowballed, culminating in today's decision. Before we talk about that, I think it's useful just to look at the background to this. What exactly is the named person scheme? You touched on it there in your introduction. It would mean that every child from 0 to 18 in Scotland would have a state-appointed named person, as it's called. That would be a teacher or a health visitor who would offer additional support to a family if it was felt that it was needed. Now, the Scottish Government say that it would provide a vital safety net across communities to ensure that children don't slip through that net. But opponents of it say that it is an unjustifiable intrusion in state intervention into family life. Now, the opponents took their concerns first of all to the Court of Session here in Edinburgh, who dismissed their concerns, said that they were guilty of hyperbole, but they then took it to the Supreme Court in the UK. And what we've had today is that the Supreme Court ruling, the judges heard 2 days of evidence in March, and since then the 5 judges have spent time considering what they heard over those 2 days, and they've given us their judgment. In some ways it's sort of a double-edged sword. They've ruled that it cannot go ahead in its current form, but they say that the aim of the Act is unquestionably legitimate and benign, but the problem that they have with it is the way, particularly, that the Scottish Government are proposing to share information. The section there, they say that it's unlawful and that it doesn't comply with the European Convention on Human Rights. Now, those defective provisions, they say, mean that it can't be brought into force. What is key now is the timetable. This was, of course, due to come into effect on the 31st of August, so at the end of next month. That cannot now happen. The Scottish Government have been given 42 days now to come up with a timetable for making the changes that would mean that the legislation could comply with the UK Supreme Court's findings. The Scottish Government say that they will now look at doing that, but the Deputy First Minister, John Swinney, says that they are absolutely committed to the policy.
Thank you very much, Stephen.